My name is Christina Arrieta, and I will be discussing emotional intelligence and job satisfaction in the workplace. The first step is talking about the history of emotional intelligence, and according to Dr. Sunita, people who have higher emotional intelligence are more adaptive to situations and exhibit more productive behaviors. Emotional intelligence started being noticed in 1990, and it's the ability to evaluate and express emotions quickly and also manage them appropriately. There are two types of emotional intelligence: ability and trait. So when it comes to the history of emotional intelligence, a lot of it that I have been reading started being noticed in the workplace and how people interact with one another. And is it just IQ? People were thinking it's not just IQ. You need more to have to be more successful in the workplace environment. So how does that relate to job satisfaction? There are 5 elements that contribute to emotional intelligence, which are self-awareness, self-management, self-motivation, empathy, and social skills. Emotional intelligence has been shown to score differently across cultures, genders, and throughout society. So a lot of what I'm seeing, it says self-awareness, self-management, self-motivation, empathy, and social skills. This all has to do with a person working on themselves. And throughout learning about behaviors, we have concluded that if a person is not happy with themselves, they're more than likely not going to be happy in a workplace environment. So when it comes to emotional intelligence and job satisfaction, one has to have self-awareness and have self-management and motivation and structure in their life. Emotional intelligence in society today. So companies are looking to increase emotional intelligence in training because it has shown to increase productivity. And on this picture over here, it says emotional intelligence is for understanding emotion, managing them, using emotions, perceiving emotions. So a lot of this has to deal with emotions in how you hold them back or how you relate to them in a workplace environment. Researchers have been trying to solve the ultimate question of how to keep employees happy and retain job satisfaction. So that's where emotional intelligence is in society these days. You can develop emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence can be used in all workplace fields. Emotional intelligence is just as important today in the workplace as it is to traditional intelligence. A lot of the reading that I've done shows IQ versus EI. Well, there's a huge difference in it, and to be more successful, you have to have emotional intelligence. It's just as important. So I'll be discussing current assessments that have been done on emotional intelligence in the workplace, and one of them I came across is emotional intelligence in team atmospheres. And this study is 25 items, and it says that it was, where is it? It was 25 items, and it says, I can discuss the emotions I feel with other team members. This was like another question on there. So it was relating to how people work in teams and their job satisfaction. So the people that worked better in teams actually had higher job satisfaction versus the people that enjoyed just working alone. I thought that was a really big current assessment because I'm looking at emotional intelligence and job satisfaction. And a lot of the jobs these days, you have to work in a team environment. So I really enjoyed this current assessment by Jordan and Lawrence. This second one is a study about dietitians and how they work in a high stress environment. And the people in high stress workplace environments actually regress in emotional intelligence and it shows that when the workload is higher, they digress also when it comes to emotional intelligence in the workplace. Emotional intelligent people cope better, which alleviates workplace tension and leads to good physical health. So in this assessment, when it came to dietitians, it was in a hospital setting. They're really busy all the time. They had a big workload, and they noticed that their physical health started deteriorating, and they were trying to figure out why this is happening in the workplace. And they assessed their emotional intelligence was actually suffering because the workload was too high. And this says emotional intelligence, job performance. So it just goes to show general mental ability and job performance. So job performance is going to suffer if you are not taking care of yourself. So all these dietitians weren't doing the best job that they could do because they were not taking care of themselves. They weren't physically healthy because their emotional intelligence was being deteriorated. You can currently take online assessments to see your own personal emotional intelligence. I looked online for online assessments, and it was really easy for me to find ones that can say which fields you are good in and which fields you are not good in. So when it comes to like self-management, how good are you? This is also from the same article. It says Charles Darwin recognized the importance of emotional intelligence and pointed to the ways in which emotional expression and interpretation can affect an individual's survival. In more recent years, psychologists have begun to understand that emotional intelligence is as important as other kinds of intelligence. Some have even argued that emotional intelligence is a better predictor of success than general intelligence. Some studies indicate that people with higher emotional IQs are better equipped at negotiating, winning, favoring, making friends, and influencing others. And this is an emotional intelligence test. When I was looking at different tests, they're all pretty similar. Some of them are like 45 questions, some of them are shorter. But this is just an example. It says, I extend help to anyone who is in need without expecting anything in return. And so some of these are yes, no. This one's rated a little bit different. Usually, sometimes, rarely, never. And a lot of these have the same questions on them as well. And I have also seen emotional intelligence tests when applying for jobs as well. So the setting for testing, you can either be in a group setting for a workplace satisfaction survey, or you can do at-home online surveys, or you can even do just your individual surveys if your boss wanted to conduct one individually for each person to see who's performing the best. And who performs the best, do they have higher emotional intelligence and emotion in the workplace? What is the purpose of this? So the whole purpose of testing emotional intelligence in the workplace is it doesn't only affect companies, it affects a person's health as well. So what's going to happen is if the more companies that are realizing that emotional intelligence is extremely important, they can see, well, is my person that's always out sick if when we test for emotional intelligence and job satisfaction, are they scoring low at that? So maybe that's one of the factors that are taken into place. IQ only does so much. Emotional intelligence can help a person manage stress and emotions. A lot of what I have been reading shows that people who do not have a lot of emotional intelligence also suffer with coping skills. And you suffer with coping skills, you hold that stress and you don't really know how to vent. So you might argue with someone at work more, or you don't know how to express your emotions in a professional manner. Emotional intelligence affects performance at work, physical health, mental health, relationships, and social intelligence. So if you are really having a difficult time at work and you don't have much emotional intelligence, but you have a high IQ, you might have relationship issues and you might have social issues. It's really important for society these days to understand you need IQ and emotional intelligence in the workplace to make it come together. You are actually more likely to further your social goals by setting other thoughts aside and focusing on yourself. Following the flow of another person's emotions response is to give-take process. And paying attention to others doesn't diminish your own self-awareness. So this is just some examples of how someone would increase their emotional intelligence in the workplace. Some controversial effects of an emotional intelligence testing in the workplace. Some studies that I have been reading say that it's too broad. The popular claims, such as you need to have emotional intelligence in the workplace versus the scientific research that has been conducted, is not very vast. And the big one I thought that we have discussed about in this class is reliability cannot be measured. It doesn't predict important outcomes, and it doesn't measure important dimensions of individual and cultural differences. So there's a few aspects of testing emotional intelligence and job satisfaction in the workplace. The fact that it does not include all cultural differences, I believe, is a big one too, which we have also discussed about in class. And these are my references. And that's it.